Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads and it'll automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. I will also post the canvas dimensions and color profile and layers needed for this drawing on the screen so that you can set up your canvas accordingly. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, so here is our color palette. We will just go ahead and get started. We'll start with the water and the rocks, and then we'll do the sun and the canoe after that. So water first, so let's grab this first color on the second row. We will leave the background color layer as is for now. We will be on layer 1. We will grab the selection tool, set it to rectangle with color fill turned on. And we're going to start on the bottom left corner outside of our canvas here and draw up and to the right to cover all the way across. And we probably want to cover about 2/3 of our canvas at the bottom. And then let it go to fill that in. And then click the selection tool to deselect that area. And now we're going to draw the rocks on top of our water. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer. Grab the second color on the second row, and we are going to grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab for this. Let's have it set at about 20%. And I am first going to draw a pretty big rock on this right side here. So I'm going to start in the water, not quite halfway like middle point, but start in the water a little bit closer to the right side of the canvas, but still in our water. Maybe about 1/3 of the way down into our water here. I am going to start there and make kind of some little curved lines like this, nothing too squiggly or crazy. And then starting on the bottom here where the point is, I'm going to do the same thing but much more horizontally off the screen like this, and then fill that in. So that's our first rock shape there. I'll make another tiny one here a little closer to the edge, like this, and then fill that in. And then same thing on the other side, maybe again a little bit smaller, but maybe I'll start a little higher up on my water. And maybe one that we even see start to go back down on the left side like this. And then fill that in. So these are the shapes now that I have for my rocks. You can kind of place yours however you would like, leaving a good amount of room here for our canoe. And then I'm going to go to my layer menu on this rock layer. I'm going to click on it and turn on alpha lock. I am going to grab the third color on the second row, and I am going to switch my brush now to the grunge brush under the textures category. Have that at about 20% as well. And this is just going to add some nice texture and highlights to our rocks. So I'm just going to lightly go in and start adding just little like chunks of this in sections. So it's not covering the entire rock, but just kind of adding some variation to it here and there. Mostly sticking towards the top area of our rock, making it denser in some areas to add a lot of variation. About like this. Do that for each one. Obviously with these smaller ones we won't have quite as many areas. maybe something kind of like this, and then we'll grab the fourth color on the second row, and this is our darker color, and we will just kind of add this in to the spaces, and then also kind of like along the bottom of our rock, just to kind of add some shadows where we didn't add the highlights. So now your rocks should look something like this. Okay, and now that we have our rocks laid out, we can start adding to the rest of our water. So let's go back to our green water layer here, layer 1, click on it and turn on alpha lock. And then we're going to grab the fifth color on the second row, a darker green. We're going to open our brush menu again and go to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. We're going to have that at maybe 10%. And the first thing I'm going to do is add this around the bottom of all of the rocks to kind of create some shadow there. Maybe even along kind of the top side that we can see sticking out. Grab the sixth color on the second row, and then we're going to do the same thing a little bit closer to the rocks now, just to add a little bit more darkness. And then also with this darker color here, we are going to switch our brush to the oceans brush under the elements category. We'll have that set to 40 to 50%. And keeping your canvas nice and horizontal, we are going to add some sections of this kind of wave-like pattern into our water as well. Not a ton, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to cover every inch of it, and we kind of want it to be more sporadic here and there, like so. Okay, now we're going to add some white edges to the water and some splashing on the rocks. So we're going to add a new layer above all of our layers so far. We're going to grab the seventh color on the second row. And we are going to switch our brush again now to the clouds brush under the elements category. Set that to maybe 15%. And we are just going to add this around the bottom areas of our rock to kind of create a little bit of fog, going up onto our rock a little bit and into the water. Again, kind of doing some variations of like denser areas. And sometimes we'll have it like go up a little higher, not so high. And obviously we'll still see the line at the bottom of our rock, but that is okay for now. We will get that covered up in the next step. Now we're going to keep the same color, but we're going to switch our brush to the oil paint brush under the painting category. We'll have this set to about 20%. And the first thing that we're going to do is kind of follow the shape of the rock right where it meets the water with our brush here like this. So kind of horizontally, just following it and covering it up pretty nicely all the way to the tip of the rock that we can see. And then at the same time, kind of lightly dragging it into our water, also in a more horizontal motion, just to kind of blend it with our water. So very lightly right there, but to create a nice like little lighter area of water there, blending into the rest. And then once that's done, we're going to take our brush and just every once in a while on the top of our little line here, kind of make some like more vertical or diagonal kind of splashy motion. And it kind of digs into the color that we already laid down. That's kind of the beauty of this oil brush, which I like, so we will kind of leave it about like that. make sure to focus a little bit of it on the tip of the water or on the tip of the rock here to get a nice splash there. And then we'll do the same thing with each one. So start on the bottom, kind of to cover that up. Blend it into our water a little bit more. Lightly. And then do a little bit of upward diagonal kind of motion. Okay, and then same layer, same brush. We are going to grab a different color though, this last one on the second row that is 8th in line. And I'm going to lower the size to maybe 10%, and we are just going to kind of do the same thing in the water, just like by itself, to add some more lighter areas, just kind of in little sections. And I just make them like horizontal for the most part, and then you can even do like a little bit of like a kind of circular motion to add, like, to kind of rough it up a little bit. So just a few little sections of this throughout the water. So maybe I will stop about there. So one last thing, let's go to our brush menu and find the Flicks brush under the spray paint category. And now with this same color, the 8th one on the second row, set the size to maybe 10%, and then make sure the opacity is all the way up on the left side here for our brush. And then I'm just going to go through and add just a few little pops of this along the top areas of where we drew our water on each little rock here, to add just a little something to it more to make it look like the water is kind of spraying up over the rocks like that. But I'm just tapping my brush, I'm not dragging it or anything like that. Okay, and now that will complete our water, so now we can move on to our sky. So that'll be kind of behind all of our water stuff, but the first thing that we'll do is we will now set the background color since we're ready to work on our sky. So open up our layer menu on this background color layer, click on it to open up our color palette, and grab the first color on the first row to fill it in with that color. Add a new layer and drag it below all of the layers that we have so far, so right above our background color layer. On our color palette, grab the second one on the top row, and we are going to switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. We will have this set still to just 10%, and I'm going to again work in a more horizontal motion, and with this darker orange color, I'm just going to kind of add this in streaks to the edge of my sky, so the top and the corners and the sides, but not so much in the middle. So kind of stopping about there. Nothing too precise or anything. Then I will grab the third color on the top row, and our sun is going to be right here in the middle, so I am going to kind of, same thing, horizontal motion right behind where my sun's going to be there, kind of touching the top of the water as well. and kind of almost making like an arc shape. So a little bit skinnier at the top here where I'm drawing, and then wider towards the bottom, towards the horizon. Grab the next color, the fourth one on the top row, and focus this a little bit more in. So not quite as far out as we went with our last color, just focusing it right in the middle. Again, shorter at the top, longer at the bottom. Next color, the fifth one on the top row, again in even further. This is pretty much like right where our sun's gonna be. So again, make more of like just an arc shape here, like so. Blending it out a little bit on the sides and the edges. And then the sixth color on the top row, and this will be our brightest spot, so just right in the center, make a good chunk of this in almost a circular motion, hitting the horizon like so. Lastly, to add a little bit more variation and kind of make our sky look a little cloudier, I'm going to switch back to the fifth color on the top row, this a little teeny bit darker, like almost white color, and I am just going to very lightly go in and add a little bit of this in a horizontal fashion over the rest of my sky, just in little sections to kind of break it up a little bit, like this. Okay, that's it for our sky. Now that we have that laid out, we can add a little bit of a reflection here on the water. So let's go back to our layer menu. We are going to add a layer right above our water layer. Click on it, set it to a clipping mask, so it'll only draw on top of our water rectangle that we have. Click the N on this layer, and we are going to drag this up to lighter color. That is the layer style that we're going to use. Now we're going to use the same brush, the soft brush at 10%, and we're going to start only with this fourth color on the top row. We'll start there, so the kind of more lighter yellow color. And again, we are just going to kind of do what we did before. So we'll drag this yellow color, we'll drag it kind of out, and it's going to kind of mirror our sun. So it's going to be shorter at the bottom here and then get longer at the top towards the horizon, like so. Then we'll go in with the next color, the fifth one on the top row, and again, focus this one more right towards the middle area. And then lastly, our last color on the top row, the brightest one, and again, I'll just focus this just a little bit right in the center there. If yours is a little too intense here, this reflection, you can go to your layer menu, click the LC on this layer to open up this menu, and drag the opacity down a little bit. I might drag mine to like 70% to make it just a little bit lighter on the water there. And that will be that for our sky and the reflection of it. And then the last thing that we're going to do is just draw the canoe down at the bottom. So let's do that now. We'll add a new layer on top of all of our layers. And we are going to switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, still at about 15 to 20%. We will grab the first color on the last row of our color palette, and we are going to turn on symmetry to do this, so let's do that now. So go to the gear icon in the top left under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, then click edit drawing guide and click the symmetry option here. Make sure you see a vertical line. If you do not, you might need to select a vertical under your options down here, and then click done. Now we first want to make sure that this layer we're on says assisted. It does. If yours does not, you can always click on your layer and turn on drawing assist and make sure it says assisted there before we get started. So the first thing that we'll do is just draw the lip of our canoe. So I'm going to start right just about maybe a fifth to a quarter of the way up our entire canvas here. So maybe just about right here. Start right in the center on our center line and draw a nice curved line going out and down. Hold it down until Procreate turns it into a nice smooth line. Then go ahead and click Edit Shape at the top. And we first of all want to make sure that these meet in the middle, so adjust this line as necessary so they come to a point there. And then you can also adjust your curve if you want and adjust where it meets at the bottom. So I'm going to set mine to be about here, like so. Okay, click your brush tool again, and then we're going to do the same thing, just a little bit down. So then start down on the line a little bit and draw a line kind of mirroring the one on the outside that we just drew. Click edit shape at the top again and do the same thing, so make sure they meet in the middle, and then just adjust your line if necessary to kind of better match the outside one, leaving just a short amount of room here that will be the lip of our canoe, and then we will go ahead and fill that in. Okay, next we will go to our layer menu. We will add a new layer, drag it below this canoe layer that we just drew. Click on it and turn on Drawing Assist. Grab the second color on the last row, and we are going to go ahead and just underneath this first section that we drew, we are just going to pretend draw a line. You can't see it because it's behind it, connect it at the top, and then fill it in. So now we have the bottom part of our canoe. Next, we're going to go to our layer menu. On this layer, click on it and turn on Alpha Lock, and click on it and turn off Drawing Assist. Grab the third color on the last row, the darker brown, and we're just going to draw some ridges all the way across our canoe here. So I'm just going to start on the left side here, draw a straight line across, hold it down until it turns into a perfectly straight line, and then touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And we'll just do that all the way up, trying to keep our lines pretty evenly spaced to each other. If you want to change the size of your brush at all to change the width of your line, you totally can. Mine is still at about 15%. And that will be my last one there, so just do as many as you can fit all the way up. Then we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer above this layer, click on it, turn it into a clipping mask, click the N on the layer and drag it up to multiply. And we are going to grab the fifth color on the last row, this lighter kind of grayish brownish color, and we are going to switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category. And what we're going to do is just draw inside here on the sides to create a nice shadow inside our canoe. So do that on both sides, like so that the middle is brighter. Okay, then we're going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer above this one. Click on it and just click Drawing Assist so that we can use Symmetry again, but no clipping mask or anything like that. We'll go to our color palette and grab the fourth color on the last row, and we are going to switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And we are just going to draw another little piece of the canoe here. So it is going to be down a little ways into our canoe bottom area, and start in the middle again and draw a line going out and down, curving towards the side of the canoe like this. Again, click edit shape, and we mostly just want them to meet in the middle, and we want it to be a nice point. Mine didn't point very much, so I am going to decrease my curve a little bit, but it's still just slightly curved from the middle to the side. Again, make sure they meet nicely in the middle to create kind of a point and go off on the side of our canoe like so. Click the brush tool again, so this is how my lines look. And then I will again just kind of pretend draw a line here around and connect it so that we can fill in this shape like so. So that completes all the pieces of our canoe. So now we will add some texture to it to make it look more wood-like. So to do that, we are going to go to our layer menu and we are going to snap all four of our canoe layers here together. So I just highlighted them all by sliding right on them all. So there's four of them. The main top lip, the lighter one that we just did, the shadow, and the bottom part. And then I'm going to just drag them all together to snap them onto one layer. Add a new layer above it. Click on it, set it to a clipping mask, and then click on the N on this layer to open up the menu and drag it to overlay. click on this layer and also turn on Drawing Assist so that we can use Symmetry. Grab the 5th color on the last row again. And we are going to switch our brush, this time to the corrugated iron brush under the industrial category. I have that set to about 5%. And this brush moves whichever way you are facing. So like this one is moving straight up and down because my canvas is straight up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it sideways and kind of like let it snap sideways. So it's not at any angle at all. It's perfectly sideways, perfectly horizontal. So now we can draw perfectly horizontal. And I'm going not quite as far as the lip of my canoe because I don't want to cover that up because we are drawing on top of that layer as well. So I only go about to the edges and I kind of change. Sometimes I push a little harder, sometimes a little lighter to kind of create some variation in the highlights that I'm drawing like this. And then I am going to turn it and I am going to do the same thing for this, but so now I'm going to kind of create a slightly diagonal angle to kind of match the side of my boat. So this one, it's even a little too up still. I kind of want the to match like this. And then I'll draw it maybe to about here, cover up this lighter area also at this same angle till about here. And then I'm going to turn it even a little bit more and draw again from here. So you can move it a few times if you want to create different angles, but I just did 2 different ones on this top one and then the horizontal ones on the bottom. Like so, just to kind of create a little bit of a texture there, a little bit of a wooden looking texture. And very, very lastly, we are going to go back to our water layer, the green rectangle layer, and back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category at 10%. Again, grab the 6th color on the last row and again add a little bit of a shadow right around our boat here on the sides of it that we can see, like so. Okay, and that is it for our picture today. So I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it, so go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching!